Welcome, gaming friends. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at gear in Guild Wars 2. Whether you're a brand new player who's still trying to figure out whether they should be equipping that new item drop that they just got in their inventory, or whether you're a veteran player looking to get into more advanced content and have a specific role in mind, but are being told that you need ascended or legendary gear to participate in that said content, this video is going to be for you. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the types of gear in Guild Wars 2, the rarities, as well as the upgrade components that each of those types of gear is going to have, as well as what stat sets you are going to need to fulfill a specific role in a game mode in Guild Wars 2. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. In Guild Wars 2, gear can be broken down into three separate categories. Weapons, which can be subcategorized as one-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, and underwater weapons. Armor, which can be broken down into light, medium, and heavy. And finally, trinkets and accessories, which would be composed of rings, earrings, amulets, and back pieces. All of these gear types, with the exception of trinkets and accessories, fall into a 7-category rarity system. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the rarity of gear in Guild Wars 2 and how that is going to impact how powerful the gear is. We will be using the basic tiers gear as a relative point of reference to show the strength increase between each tier of gear. The first tier is the basic tier, or the white tier, which is available from level 1 to level 80. Here's a control example showing the basic rarity gear with no infusions, sigils, or runes, since they are not available at the basic rarity. It also does not have the trinkets or accessories. I will be showing the increased progression using masterwork, exotic, and legendary gear so that you have some damage benchmark points of reference. First up, we will be looking at the masterwork gear. With the upgrade to the masterwork gear, you are going to see that there is now available accessories and trinkets, so those are now in, and there is also a sigil in the greatsword. And as you can see, the damage went down from taking about 17.5 minutes to about 8.5 minutes. Next up is the exotic gear. For this example, this is the cheapest Berserker stat gear that is currently in the trading post. It took me about 20 gold to purchase the entire set, along with the greatsword. And they have superior runes of strength, as well as a full set of Berserker exotic trinkets and back piece. As you can see here, it went from about 17.5 minutes down to about 5 minutes and 40 seconds. The final example is a fully geared Dragon Hunter in Ascended and Legendary armor, using the Berserker stats and a full set of power infusions, along with the superior rune of the Scholar. As you can see, the damage has gone from taking about 17.5 minutes all the way down to a little under 4 minutes to clear a 1 million HP training golem. As a final note, as you look at the exotic and ascended / legendary set of gear, you will notice that there's about a 1:40 improvement between the two gear sets. However, there's a big difference in the amount of time it's going to take to get those two gears, where the exotic you can pick up for about 20 to 25 gold. And the Ascended and Legendary is going to take you a lot more time and resources to acquire that full set, with that set of infusions to get that extra 1:40 of improvement out of it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at some ways that you can acquire these different tiers of gear. The first two methods that I will mention are going to be the least reliable due to the fact that you're going to have to get both the exact rarity as well as the gear stat that you are looking for from the drop, and that is killing mobs in PvE or looting loot chests like this airship drop here in Vertebrae. Another way to purchase an entire set of exotic armor is through the use of Karma. All of the temples in Ore will have a Karma vendor there if the temple is under pack control, and that vendor will then sell you a full set of armor, and it will take 252,000 Karma to do a complete set of exotic armor. Another good way to get a full set of exotic armor in Guild Wars 2 is from the dungeon armor vendor located in Lion's Arch. It will cost you 1,380 tokens to get a complete set of armor, and you can earn these tokens from completing a path in each of those respective dungeons. The most common ones that are going to be run are going to be the Citadel of Flames and Ascalonian Catacombs. Ascalonian Catacombs will be run for the support gear, and the Citadel of Flames would be run for both the power and the Condi damage gear that would be available for the core game stat sets. As previously mentioned, using the trading post is one of the easiest ways to acquire gear in Guild Wars 2, since you will have control over the rarity as well as the stat set you are going for, and it is generally one of the least time consuming ways to acquire gear as long as you're going up to exotic. The only gear above exotic that is available in the trading post is the first generation legendary weapons. Now that we've looked at multiple different ways to get a full set of exotic gear, let's go ahead and take a look at getting ascended gear if you're looking to do stat caps or if you're looking to get into fractals. The first and the easiest thing to do is get into the trinkets, and that is going to be easiest through the Living Season 3 or Living Season 4 maps and using the map currencies. It is important to note that you're going to need at least 3 of the Living Season 3 or Living Season 4 maps to complete a full set of rings, earrings, amulet, and a back piece. Now let's go ahead and talk about some different ways that you can acquire ascended armor and ascended weapons. It is important to note that 3 out of the 4 acquisition methods that I'm going to be talking about will require Grandmaster or level 500 crafting in their respective disciplines. This process is very time and resource intensive because of the time-gated materials that are associated with ascended crafting. It'll take you between 25 and 36 days to do a complete set of ascended armor unless you are willing to purchase the ascended materials from the trading post. It will also take you an additional 3 to 4 weeks to complete a full set of ascended weapons. Strike missions, or 10-man group content, which is located in Eye of the North, is the only way to acquire ascended armor and ascended weapons without having to have Grandmaster crafting. To complete a full set of ascended armor, however, you're going to need 1,300 profit shards and an additional 1,000 profit shards to complete a full set of ascended weapons. Ranked PvP is another great way of acquiring ascended gear in Guild Wars 2. However, it is required that you will be PvP rank 20 before you are able to queue for any ranked PvP events. While it is technically possible to complete a full set of ascended armor in PvP, you will need to have Grandmaster crafting. Otherwise, you will have to participate in every ranked season for over a year to acquire all of the Grandmaster tokens that will be required to purchase a full set of ascended armor. However, the added benefit to ascended armor from PvP is it can be used as a precursor armor to craft legendary armor as long as you never stat swap the gear in the Mystic Forge. There are also available collections for a PvP legendary backpack and amulet. For additional information on those topics, you can check out the guides on my channel. World vs. World is personally my favorite way to acquire ascended armor. Unlike other game modes, World vs. World has a very rare chance of receiving ascended gear from killing other players. Ascended armor purchased in World vs. World also can be crafted into legendary armor. It takes about 4 weeks to acquire all of the World vs. World currencies needed to purchase a full set of ascended armor. World vs. World also has an exclusive legendary backpack and legendary ring. For additional information and guides on legendary items in World vs. World, you can check out the guides on my channel. Now that we've discussed different rarities and ways to acquire gear in Guild Wars 2, let's go ahead and take a look at the roles and what stats will benefit those roles the most. First up is the power DPS builds, which will benefit mostly from the power, precision, and ferocity stat sets. Power being the amount of direct damage a skill will do to a target. Precision is the modifier for critical chance. For every 21 points of precision that a character has added to it, it will gain 1% critical chance. Ferocity being the secondary modifier that you will be looking for, which will contribute to the critical chance damage. A character has a base of 150% critical chance, and it is increased by 1% for every 15 points of ferocity added to their build. The next most common role in Guild Wars 2 is the Condi, or damage over time DPS role, which is going to use conditions like burning, bleeding, and poison to damage the mobs over time. The most two important stats for that are going to be condition damage, which is going to impact the amount of damage each tick of burning, bleeding, or poison does, as well as the condition duration, which is going to be modified by the expertise stat. And for every 15 points of expertise you add to your character, you will gain 1% of condition duration. The final role that you will most commonly encounter in Guild Wars 2 is the healing/support role. This character will also generally take on the tank role if you are doing raids where there is a boss that will aggro to the character with the highest toughness. The stats that you will most generally be focusing on there is going to be the healing power as well as the concentration, which will impact the boon duration or the buff duration. The amount that the healing power will modify a skill is going to depend specifically on those skills, since there are different healing modifiers depending on skills uniquely. And the boon duration is a little more finite. With every 15 points of concentration, you'll add 1% to your boon duration. If you need to build toughness, it is going to add on to your character's armor. And if you need to add health to your character, generally this isn't done outside of world versus world. Every 1 point that is increased to your vitality will equal 10 additional points to your character's health pool. As we wrap this video up, I'm going to leave you with some final thoughts about gear in Guild Wars 2. Firstly, don't stress about gear until you hit level 80, because you're not going to spend enough time in that gear at lower levels to warrant the investment. After you hit level 80 though, go ahead, find a build that you like that is going to help you with the content that you wish to tackle and meet your playstyle, and invest. Don't stress about ascended gear or legendary gear until you're ready to take on fractals or are worried about stat capping. A player with a better build and skill rotation and exotic gear is always going to outperform a character that is stat capped with a player that has less knowledge about the build and the rotation. But then again, we can leave that topic for another video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider leaving a like to help me out with the YouTube algorithm and subscribing to the channel to help support future content. And as always, if you have any questions or additional tips that I might have missed in this video, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Hopefully you're all having a great one, and we'll catch you next time.